Welcome back to Dead Smoke Radio. I'm your host, the Phantom Hater, haunting your feed with radio waves straight from the other side of the grave.
And I'm your host, the hash-smoking slasher, slinging dope takes and ripping real reviews.
This is Dead Smoke Radio. No signal, no sanctuary.
Shout out to everyone who's cut through the fog, whether you're sparking up, hiding out, or running for office. You've tuned into Dead Smoke Radio. Transmission's live, and the smoke's only getting thicker, like my ass.
And a very special shout out to the Dead Smoke Radio Discord, the real gravekeepers, keeping the station alive. If the fog hasn't consumed you yet, find your way to the Dead Smoke Radio antenna and hit the link below. That's where the smoke repels the fog, exclusive drops, sneak peeks, and cursed content that you won't find anywhere else.
Stranger Things Season 5 is crawling out, but don't worry. Dead Smoke Radio is back, bringing you the strangest recaps YouTube and Spotify have to offer. Tonight, we're back in Hawkins to review Season 3 of Stranger Things. Transmission 1 floats on, packed with more horror, dank reviews, and spaces so smoke-filled, you'd think we were in a sauna.
So, I guess we wear swimsuits in here.
Today is October 24th. Happy birthday, Cameron. And Dead Smoke Radio is rolling every Friday at 6 p.m. from October 3rd through January 9th. We've got Stranger Things recaps, horror top 10s, holiday specials, movie reviews, and more.
It's the third Friday of the month, and the fog, it beckons more and more by the day. Deeper, darker, and colder than ever. New nightmares, new horrors, and a few secrets better left buried. But you know us, we're here to open Pandora's box. Let's dig into this recap and see what comes scratching out from the depths below.
The season opens with a literal Russian mouth breather, showing that these guys may not be the brightest scientists. They unsuccessfully try to reopen the gate to the Upside Down. Back in Hawkins, Hopper struggles with his new single dad role as he catches Mike and Eleven sucking face.
Hey! 3-inch minimum.
Meanwhile, the boys hang out at the mall, where Steve now works at Scoops Ahoy with his coworker Robin. He sneaks the kids into a R-rated film called The Day of the Dead before a mysterious power outage hits. Joyce adjusts to normal life after losing Bob. Nancy and Jonathan are finding it hard to fit in at their new jobs as reporters at the Hawkins Post. Dustin returns from camp expecting his friends to be there when he gets home, but he realizes that they aren't there.
I repeat, this is Gold Leader returning to base. Do you copy? Over.
Leading to that hilarious moment where he sprays Lucas.
In the face! In the face!
Miss Wheeler flirts with Billy at the pool, hinting at a possible affair between the two.
Take the new suit, Mrs. Wheeler.
Thank you.
Hopper visits Joyce for parenting advice and further develops his feelings for her. However, the feeling is not so mutual.
Liberty bibbity.
After that brief pep talk with Joyce, he makes his own feelings known to Mike.
Maybe by the end of it, maybe if you're lucky, maybe I will continue to allow you to date my daughter.
At the end of the episode, rats are seen headed to a Fetty Wap concert in an abandoned warehouse.
Yeah, baby. I want you to be mine again, baby.
Dustin sets up a homemade radio tower to contact his new girlfriend in Utah, Susie, but instead intercepts a strange Russian transmission. Allow me to translate.
Getting old, stop. Can't pee, stop. Reeks like asparagus, stop. Even though I didn't even have any.
Billy wrecked his car on the way to meet Mrs. Wheeler, and then he's viciously dragged into the Fetty Wap concert that all the rats blew up over.
I want you to be mine again, baby.
This episode picks up with Billy now in full sicko mode. He rushes to a payphone to call for help, but starts to experience visions from the Upside Down and a shadowy evil twin version of himself. Meanwhile, Mike lies to Eleven about not being able to hang out, causing tension in their relationship, much to Hopper's amusement. Hopper discusses the situation with Joyce, and he plans a date with her later that night.
I was thinking, Enzo's tonight, 7 o'clock.
As he responds to a call, he accidentally knocks over some of the store's fridge magnets. After he leaves, Joyce notices they won't stick back on, hinting that Hawkins is in store for even more Stranger Things.
Oh, that's why they call it that.
At the Hawkins post, Nancy struggles to be taken seriously,
Careful there, Nancy Drew. Careful.
but pushes to investigate Miss O'Driscoll's rat problem. She and Jonathan visit the house, where they find rats eating fertilizer, and Miss O'Driscoll even catches one herself.
I caught one of the little bastards.
Jonathan can't help himself and takes more creep shots of Nancy, and for some reason, the rat too. After the pair leave, the rat suffers from PTSD after surviving a Travis Scott a Fetty Wap concert and just fucking explodes. It then forms into a pile of sentient sludge and then just kind of fucks off. Kind of like that movie The Blob from 1958. Steve and Dustin's bromance is starting to ramp up more.
Henderson.
Henderson! He's back! He's back!
I'm back. You got the job.
You got the job!
They team up with Robin and decode a mysterious Russian transmission Dustin intercepted, while Steve is stuck on a feeling about the song he heard in the Russian transmission.
Sounded familiar.
What?
The music. The music right there at the end.
Why are you listening to the music, Steve? Listen to the Russian. We're translating Russian.
I'm trying to listen to the Russian, but there's music playing.
Time is over.
He realizes it's the same tune playing on a pony ride inside the Starcourt Mall. Eleven and Max bond over their boy problems and head to the mall for a quick JCPenney commercial. Mike, Lucas, and Will are also there, leading to an awkward run-in and Eleven breaking up with Mike after he lies to her again.
I dump your ass.
Joyce dives into electromagnetism research and visits Mr. Clark, the boys' science teacher, who's always down to help. He explains the concept of solenoids and implies that an enormous power source could cause such electromagnetic disruptions, causing Joyce spiraling into panic about Hawkins' lab returning. Hopper waits outside of Mayor Klein's office, who notices a T-1000 Terminator leaving his office but doesn't think much of it because Hopper's never seen those movies apparently. The mayor talks to Hopper about illegal protesters outside his office. They're pissed because he took away their pajama day.
They can't wear their pajamas to pajama day.
And I suppose he's increasing people's property taxes, basically forcing them out of their homes. But no pajama day warrants lawful protest, in my opinion. After Hopper gets stood up by Joyce that night, he gets wasted and goes back home. Billy's told to go drink bleach, and he literally does it. He almost attacks her, but he's able to resist the evil long enough to spare her. In the final scene, Billy attacks and abducts his co-worker Heather. He takes her to the Fetty Wap concert so that she too can join the army. We see this massive, disgusting creature known as the Mind Flayer beginning to mold and evolve.
Eleven and Max are using her psychic powers to spy on the boys, turning it into a spin on the bottle type of game to see who to snoop on next. 11 starts to spy on none other than Billy, but he sees her through the vision, showing how strong the evil presence is truly becoming. Hopper drunkenly returns home after Joyce stood him up, assuming Mike and 11 are making out again, only to find Max there instead. Relieved, he collapses on the couch and falls asleep watching Judge Judy. Joyce later visits Hopper to share her findings with him about the magnets, but Hopper brushes her off, still hungover and defensive. Frustrated, she grabs the bolt cutters and heads back to Hawkins' lab, with Hopper not too far behind.
Joyce, you're not going back there.
Nancy and Jonathan continue to investigate Miss O'Driscoll's rat problem despite their boss's disapproval. They arrive to find her eating fertilizer, a disturbing yet hilarious moment that reminds me of when I caught the hash-smoking slasher eating the rest of my cosmic brownies back when we were roommates. At the mall, Steve, Dustin, and Robin's detective trio really starts to shine. They're stalking a guy that they believe to be a Russian spy, only to discover that he's just a jazzercise instructor.
Everywhere down the loins, right? Come on, lady. Show me what you...
Robin continues deciphering the coded transmission, connecting it to the silver cat and clues around the mall. While all of this is unfolding, Will is trying to get all the boys back into D&D, but Mike and Lucas are too busy with girlfriend drama. The tension boils over and Will crashes out and smashes Fort Myers in frustration. Symbolizing his loss of childhood innocence, Will shows that he has the Peter tingle like Spider-Man does and senses danger.
Peter Tingle.
Please do not start calling it my Peter Tingle.
11 and Max visit the pool to investigate Billy and Heather's disappearance. They discover Heather's whistle and use 11's growing power using the showers. Shower power! 11 enters through a red door, which usually symbolizes revelation. She sees Heather submerged in an ice bath, screaming for help, but then is pulled under by something unseen. Joyce and Hopper return to Hawkins' lab to find it abandoned. Joyce is struggling with PTSD from losing Bob. Hopper reveals that he knows Joyce will have to move, and he offers her and her family a place to stay. Hopper is then ambushed by the mysterious Russian Terminator, who absolutely wrecks him. Meanwhile, Billy and Heather, now both possessed, ambush Heather's parents, who happen to be Nancy and Jonathan's bosses, confirming that the Mind Flayer is rebuilding its army.
Eleven sleeps over at Max's, worried about Billy, who's now a host for the Mind Flayer.
Hey, there's nothing to worry about anymore, okay?
Miss O'Driscoll is restrained by paramedics and taken to the hospital. Heather brings her tied-up parents to the creature, which starts possessing them, giving a whole new meaning to suck and face. Hopper wakes up dazed on his couch with Joyce beside him. She tells him that she recorded the Russian Terminator's license plate. Hopper later confronts the mayor over shady deals, fails to blackmail him, and resorts to physically assaulting him instead. Joyce continues tracking the Russian facility on a map of the mayor's house. Steve, Dustin, and Robin plan to infiltrate the secret Russian facility under the mall. They bribe Erica, Lucas's little sister, with ice cream to crawl through the vents and let them through. Let's just say the security in this facility is laughably bad, even for the 80s. After they infiltrate the facility, they enter a room and Steve pulls out some sort of green liquid. It turns out the room they were in is an elevator and it activates it like it's Indiana Jones. Nancy and Jonathan are fired after connecting the dots like it's an episode of That's So Raven. They bicker over the fallout, showing tension in their partnership, while Nancy finds emotional support in her mother. Will warns the group that the Mind Flayer remains dormant in its host until it activates itself. Inside the pool locker rooms, the kids set traps, luring Billy into the sauna. 11 temporarily overpowers Billy, but he regains control and nearly kills her until Mike heroically saves her. Billy escapes, and it's revealed that Heather and many others have been possessed by a growing army. At the hospital, Miss O'Driscoll displays the same signs of possession, linking her to Billy's condition.
Team Steve falls down a massive elevator shaft after collecting a green vial. They are struggling to escape, with Dustin and Steve climbing on top of the elevator to try to find a way out. Steve starts pissing into what can only be described as a boxed-in elevator shaft concrete piss abyss.
See, I told you guys it's the normal thing that we do.
Meanwhile, Hopper and Joyce investigate a new location, uncovering a hidden room with Russian scientists working on a generator. The Russian T-1000 operative relentlessly pursues Hopper and Joyce, leading into intense confrontation with the pair narrowly escaping with one of the scientists.
Joyce, drive! Joyce, please! Joyce! Drive!
They stop at a convenience store that looks awfully similar to the one the hash-smoking slasher and I stopped at on our way back into town. Hopper commandeers a vehicle, while Joyce interrogates the captured Russian scientist, later revealed as Lexi. They show up in Murray's place, who is very distrustful of the Russian that they are bringing into his house.
Hi, Jim.
The Russian Terminator appears at the same convenience store a few minutes later and buys a couple of fat cakes. Sam Puckett would be proud.
Mama knows her fat cakes.
Team Steve is still navigating the tunnels under the mall, while Steve somehow manages to overpower the soldier in the first ever fight that he's won. The kids discover that the Mind Flayer thrives in cold conditions. It's actively using its host to create a new substance forming inside of them by drinking various forms of cleaner. Will suggests freeing Miss O'Driscoll and following her back to wherever the Fetty Wap massacre is taking place. Nancy and Jonathan bring their findings to Mike's group and take them all back to the hospital.
Nancy!
Oh, what the fuck, Nancy? When they arrive at the hospital, only two are allowed to visit at a time. So Jonathan and Nancy head up in the elevator. After finding Miss O'Driscoll is gone, the pair gets confronted by their possessed co-workers. They confront them, using any means necessary to defend themselves. After a short battle, the possessed bodies melted and congeal into this massive, horrific blob, reminiscent of John Carpenter's The Thing.
Nancy is hunted by the Mind Flayer at the hospital. Just as she's about to get devoured, 11 smashes through the door and absolutely body slams the fuck out of the monster like a WWE-style smackdown, launching it out of the window before it retreats into the sewers to reform. Team Steve gets caught and trapped in the Russian base. Steve and Robin are captured and interrogated, while Dustin and Erica crawl through the nearby vents to escape. Using their brains to navigate the facility, the pair successfully and safely travel through the vents looking for a way out. Steve continues his streak of getting absolutely wrecked every season, enduring brutal interrogations and eventually being drugged with truth serum. Under the influence, Robin confesses that she once had a crush on Steve back in high school. Hopper and Joyce, joined by Murray and the captured Russian scientist Alexei, piece together the truth. The Russians are using powerful energy to reopen the gate between worlds. Hopper tests Alexei's loyalty. He's fed up with his "if you give a mouse a cookie" bullshit and throws him out of Murray's house with the car keys and the cuff keys. Hopper banks on the idea that he won't leave because the Russians would kill him for being compromised. Unable to speak Russian, Hopper has Murray act as their translator. When Murray and Hopper hit a roadblock, they share a little drinky poo and get a light bulb.
Time for a little drinky poo.
Hopper expresses his confidence in getting Alexei back into the facility to shut down the gate once more. However, Alexei laughs at him and calls him Fat Rambo. He proceeds to tell Hopper that it's a fortress and impossible to get into. But what Alexei doesn't know? Hopper's a main character. Back at the cabin, tensions rise between the kids as Mike defends Eleven's independence and declares his love for her.
I love Kung Fu!
Although she doesn't hear him. 11 later uses her powers to explore Billy's mind, uncovering his traumatic past with an abusive father and his growing link to the Mind Flayer. The evil taunts 11 that it will kill her and her entire family. The episode ends in horror as Heather, her mother, Miss O'Driscoll, and several others melt into a puddle of flesh and merge with the Mind Flayer, signaling the monster's terrifying rebirth and the return of Fetty Wap.
Everything is totally spiraling out of control. The group is split. Half of them are facing the Mind Flayer, the other half are tangled up in the chaos with the Russians. While Hopper, Joyce, and Murray are chasing leads, Alexei finally gets a taste of freedom at the carnival, laughing and holding his prize like he's a little kid until he's silenced by a gunshot that ends it all. Hopper's group barely escapes the T-1000 Terminator, diving into a mirror-filled funhouse where every reflection looks like a threat. Gunfire erupts, glass shatters, and they manage to lose him just long enough to catch their breath before heading into Starcourt Mall. At the cabin, 11 and the kids are on edge, boarding up windows and waiting for the inevitable. Thunder is rumbling outside, and the entire cabin shakes as the Mind Flayer crashes through the roof like the monster straight out of hell. It's massive, dripping, and faster than anything I've ever seen. The group fights back with fireworks, axes, and pure panic, while 11 unleashes every ounce of power that she has left, slamming it into walls, blowing chunks of it apart. But in the chaos, one of the tentacles snaps forward and bites deep into her leg, tearing into her before she manages to blast it away with a scream. The creature retreats, leaving the cabbage a wreck and 11 barely holding on to herself. Meanwhile, underground, Steve, Robin, Dustin, and Erica make their escape from the Russians' base after a ridiculous series of close calls and bad decisions. Crawling through vents, dodging guards, and hacking security systems, they finally break free and race towards the mall to find the others. By the time everyone converges at Starcourt, 11 is running on fumes. She uses what strength she has left to throw a few guards aside and get her friends to safety. But the pain is too much. The wound pulses blood, black veins spreading outwards, and the group realizes something horrifying. A piece of the Mind Flayer is still inside of her. 11's breathing quickens, her vision fades, and she stumbles. Mike rushes to catch her, shouting her name as her eyes roll back. She passes out cold, her friends surrounding her in the panic as lights flicker and the mall fades silent.
Hopper, Joyce, and Murray arrive at the mall where the kids are dealing with the problem in 11's leg. Jonathan tries to help, but 11 takes matters into her own hands, yanking that little fucker out and yeeting it across the room, allowing Hopper to stomp on it, finishing it off. With everyone back together, the group devises a plan to close the gate, splitting tasks between navigation, infiltration, and defense. Steve, Robin, Dustin, and Erica head to Dustin's satellite, while Hopper and Joyce sneak into the Russian facility. As Jonathan and Nancy try to leave, they're stopped by a missing part of the engine and are forced to retreat back inside. Chaos erupts as the Mind Flayer attacks and the Russian T-1000 appears. Dustin and Erica crawl through the vents while Hopper and the Russian Terminator fight, and the group works to sabotage the generator. 11 faces off with Billy, with Mike and the kids helping to keep her safe. Billy sacrifices himself to protect 11 in his final moments. Hopper also dies shutting down the gate, leaving 11 orphaned. Joyce adopts 11 soon after. The gate has been closed once again, the Mind Flayer is defeated, and the US military secures Starcourt strip mall. Hawkins makes national news, and the mayor is arrested for his back-end dealing and involvement. Steve and Robin try to find employment at Family Video after losing their jobs at the ice cream shop, and the kids wrap up their final moments together in Hawkins. Eleven confesses her love for Mike, and the team leaves town, closing this chapter of Hawkins. For now. Because as you know, we still have 2 seasons to go through, meaning the fog still beckons, waiting, watching, wanting to consume Earth.
That's been our recap of Stranger Things Season 3. Now it's time to kick off our Dead Smoke Radio rating breakdown.
After each recap, we rate the season out of 100 points across 10 different categories, each worth up to 10 points. Then we throw it on our Dead Smoke Radio tier list and see where it sticks.
Kicking off our breakdown with story and writing, we're scoring this category at a 9 out of 10. Season 3 expands Hawkins in exciting ways, introducing the Starcourt Mall, the Russians, and new stakes for the kids. The plot twists are fun, and the pacing mostly works, but some subplots like Billy and the teen drama drag a little bit.
Horror and atmosphere, 10 out of 10. Watching Miss O'Driscoll eating all that fertilizer was totally wicked.
Acting and characters scores a 10 out of 10. The cast is firing on all cylinders this season. Millie Bobby Brown continues to shine as Eleven, David Harbour brings full intensity as Hopper, and Winona Ryder is perfectly chaotic as Joyce. The kids are growing up on screen, and even the new characters like Robin and Erica add layers of humor that make the ensemble stronger than ever.
Direction and style, 9 out of 10. I love how at the end of every season all the main characters band together for one final battle, but it just misses the mark on certain character choices and interactions.
Sound and score gets a 10 out of 10. The combination of Kyle Dixon and Michael Stein's iconic Stranger Things scores with the era-accurate 80s pop tracks like Material Girls and Time After Time perfectly balances tensions.
Rewatchability, 9 out of 10. I would 100% rewatch this again if I didn't have to watch poor Miss O'Driscoll get turned into a fucking melted popsicle. This season was harder to watch than Bob Newby getting blindsided, and that's a good thing. Rest in peace, Bob Newby.
Impact and uniqueness scores a 9 out of 10. Season 3 raises the stakes, bringing new threats and giving the kids fresh challenges. Some of the mall humor is over the top, but it makes the horror moments hit harder in contrast.
Stoner appeal, 10 out of 10. Can confirm to all my Stone Age stoners out there that this is a certified stoner classic. Fucking go watch it. High, drunk, sober, balls deep in a squealing pig.
That's fucking crazy. Scare Factor lands at an 8 out of 10. The Mind Flayer and its flayed army are genuinely terrifying, with suspenseful attacks and unsettling body horror. It's more tense than jump scare heavy, and the horror is balanced with fun. It's so creepy without being overwhelming.
Fun factor, 10 out of 10. I couldn't help myself. I actually put a live grenade in my PC because I couldn't contain my excitement for Season 4.
And that's it for our Dead Smoke rating breakdown, setting our final score at 94 out of 100 for Season 3 of Stranger Things. This season expands on the hype and gets you more excited for what's to come next in Hawkins in Seasons 4 and 5. Now it's time to slide it on over to the Dead Smoke Radio tier list and see where it places.
We do apologize as the last recap episode did not include a tier list. However, each tier list will include the movies or TV shows that we reviewed before. For Stranger Things Season 3, we've decided to place it at the top spot on our tier list, awarding this season the Hall of Flames, S tier.
We appear to be reaching the end of our broadcast, but before we sign off, we have a special segment you won't find on any other horror review channel. Pouring out of the smoky vault of Dead Smoke Radio, Dead Smoke Radio's declassified stoner survival guide.
Feeling a little too stoned? Forgot where you put your survivor's almanac? No worries. The Phantom Hater and I have come up with our own survival guide to help you escape the upside down if you're stoned or dead sober. Today's survival tip number 43. Use public saunas only in case of emergencies. The last thing you want to see when you enter a sauna is Old Man Jenkins and his non-existent towel. The Mind Flayer? How about the Mind Eraser?
Yeah, I think I'd rather drink bleach with Billy than to see Old Man Jenkins walking around butt-ass naked.
That's been our recap for Stranger Things Season 3. We've got plenty more recaps on the way, but next week we're covering Hereditary as part of our Dead Smoke Radio Halloween special. Stick around. Stranger Things Season 4 Part 1